Well, Victoria's hotel inquiry has been handed down, failing to identify those whose decision it was to use private security guard to guard returned travellers. Joining me now is Shadow Victorian Police Minister David Southwick from Melbourne. David, good evening.
Good evening. Today, sorry.
What do you make of it? I thought Justice Coate was tougher on the government than I was expecting, I must say. I thought the comment about the breach of the Westminster custom was actually quite condemnatory. One considers it was couched in judicial speak. What did you make of it?
Well, look, today we really got no answers, no accountability, and no one is taking responsibility. And ultimately, there's just been a massive cover-up by the Andrews Labor government. We saw at the end of the Coate inquiry report that came out, Daniel Andrews came out and apologised. But at the end of the day, his apology is not going to bring back 801 people to Christmas to have dinner with their families this year. He should do more than apologise. Daniel Andrews needs to resign.
Well, I guess the difficulty that I see from your perspective is that his popularity has been pretty robust right through this, and it has confounded those of us who have wondered whether there'd be a reckoning. He's almost Teflon coated, it seems, to an outsider. What do you think? Like, there's no realistic prospect he will resign, is there?
Well, look, we're not going to stop here. The situation is this, that there has been massive collusion between Daniel Andrews and his ministers, and we know this. And the Coate inquiry has effectively given him that additional cover by them all colluding in terms of their evidence, and for Justice Coate to ultimately say that the system was doomed from the very beginning. Hotel quarantine was doomed from the beginning in the way that it was poorly managed. But at the end of the day, Daniel Andrews did not ask the serious questions that he should have. We had no one taking responsibility in terms of who said no to the ADF and who said yes to untrained private security that caused these deaths, 200,000 job losses and 20,000 infections, and 111 days of people in lockdown. This is the worst catastrophe that we've seen in Victoria, and ultimately a policy failure that will be remembered. And just remember this, we had 175 lives lost during the Black Saturday, and we had a Royal Commission. This is 801 deaths, and we need certainly the government to be held accountable for this cover-up, a massive cover-up, and we need answers.
Well, I'm wondering whether some of the questions leading to those answers might not have come out late today. No doubt you've seen the former Minister, Jenny Mikakos' statement. I'll read that just for the benefit of our audience. Quote from former Minister Mikakos, "The Coate inquiry has failed to answer key questions. I believe Victorians are entitled to the truth about an event that has so profoundly impacted them. They do not need another masterclass in political deflection from the Premier." This is from a former Labor minister, I hasten to add. Further, I'm disappointed that the inquiry decided to redact some phone records, including the Premier's calls in their entirety, and to subject these to a non-publication order. In the interests of public transparency, all telephone records provided relating to 27 March 2020 should be publicly released. What do you make of that, David? That surely must be the grounds that you'll be looking to interrogate the Premier when the House resumes. Do you have any other mechanisms to get those redacted transmissions?
Well, we're not going to stop. You know, ultimately, Daniel Andrews brought in industrial manslaughter laws into the Parliament. It was one of the last lot of laws before all of this mess happened, and he should be held accountable for this. We will not stop. As I said, this is very damning from the Health Minister that has today unveiled that these phone records, sensitive phone records from the Premier, from the Premier's office to the Police Commissioner, to the Police Minister and to others have all been covered up. This is why we have not been able to get to the bottom of this today, and this is why Victorians deserve more. Victorians need to know why we've had 801 people that have lost their lives. This is absolutely serious, and unfortunately, we've not got what Victorians were promised. Daniel Andrews, right from the very beginning, when he said Justice Cope would have this inquiry and we would get to the bottom of it, but he also said at the same time the buck stops with him. Now, if this was a private business and the CEO governed over this type of mess that killed people, they would go to jail. Quite frankly, they would go to jail. And ignorance is no defence in this. Daniel Andrews can't say that he didn't know, and Daniel Andrews came out today and he said he would do differently if he had his time again. Well, Premier, it's too late. This has happened. Lives have been lost. Livelihoods have been lost. We can't go back, and we know at Christmas time 801 people won't be with their families, and it's inexcusable for this Premier to just give an apology and not be accountable for this mess. He is the boss. The buck stops with him, and he should resign.
And David, I think probably this is going to be right in your lane, because Chris Mitchell in the Australian today raised some serious matters about that witness K matter as well, which impacts directly on Victorian police accountability. So I suspect you're going to be a busy man over the break. All the best for Christmas, and we'll certainly stay on this story.